Hi, this is Dr. Georgia. I hope you find today's message a blessing in your life. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these video messages for you when you can't come to church, or for those of you who live in a different state, or we noticed recently we have a lot of people in even different countries who are tuning in. So if that is you and you can donate to us, we invite you to hit that donate button just below the message here. So thanks so much. All right, if you'll prepare yourself, you put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
And your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
And now if you just extend your heart, arms over your heart, and extend them out. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that relationships are eternal. Relationships are eternal. They never go away. You can't get rid of them. Sometimes relationships go into a memory bank because the people aren't here anymore. But relationships are always in your heart. Some of their memories are vivid memories, and some of those memories may be dim memories, but they are always in your heart. Now look, you can transform those memories, you just can't get rid of them, because they are eternal. And all of your memories have the potential to have a power within them that can keep you from receiving your good, that can keep you from receiving God's blessing in your life. And that power street name is called guilt. If we are not careful, guilt can keep us from receiving that which God intends for us to have. So today I want to talk a little bit about what's in your heart. You know, sometimes people ask me, how do you come up, when do you decide you're going to talk about something? And the truth is, if I get people calling my office with a certain issue and I see a repeat issue, that for me becomes sermon fodder, and I'll begin to pray on it and read about it and then develop a sermon. But more often than not, the topics come from meditation. And in my meditation, Allah kept saying to me, guilt. And I kept saying back to Allah, no, don't do that. Give me something else. But it kept coming and coming, and so here we are. We're going to talk a little bit about guilt, because I trust God. And I know that maybe there's somebody in this room right now who is just on the precipice of a growth spurt on their soul, and guilt is keeping them from it. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's several of us that can just benefit and move into. Jesus said this. He said, everything from your mouth comes from your heart. Everything from your mouth comes from your heart. So today we can at least stop saying, I don't know where that came from. Haven't you ever said, whoa, where'd that come from? It came from your heart. We can stop saying, I don't know what got into me. It's not what got into you, it's what came from you in your life. That remark that you made, that behavior that hurt somebody, it's not a secret anymore. It comes from our heart. Now look, this isn't a time to shame ourselves. It's a time to spend a few minutes doing house cleaning. Begin to clean out that heart. Solomon, who is often called the greatest man in all of the Bible, the wisest man in all of the Bible, said that guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of your life. Guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of your success. The successes that you have and the woulda, shoulda, coulda successes that you didn't have. All of those came from your heart. So today I want to talk about a heart disease that grips most of us at least some of the time in our life. And if it's not dealt with, if this particular heart disease is not dealt with, it will put you on life support. It won't kill you, but you won't be able to dance like you were meant to dance. Dance like our young sister says. if we don't deal with this thing called guilt. A good way to think about guilt is to think about debtor-debting relationships that you might have. You know, debtor relationships are always in a state of imbalance. When you owe somebody something, especially money, you owe them something, you know, you get together and you are never at that point talking about real things. You're talking about the weather, you're talking about the war, not that they're not real things, but they're not deep things. They're not the things that you want to be talking about. They're not intimate things because you're trying to avoid the issue. You're trying, and it's not real. In fact, guilt often even has its own language. Guilt says, I owe you an apology. You know, when you've done something, you've wrecked something, somebody's, you've stolen something, you didn't show up, you lied, you gossiped, and now you regret it, we have owe terminology. I owe you an apology because we have a debtor-debting relationship right now. And whenever we have that, we can't have intimacy. We can't have real authenticity. When you hurt somebody, when you trespass against them, whether it's mild or whether it's mean-spirited, we always want to make it up. And we talk like that. I want to make this up to you. Because being in debt never feels good. It also causes heart damage. Because here's what happens. When we are in debt to somebody, when we have guilt in our heart, we walk slower. It's like, I often say, it's like having gum on the bottom of your spiritual shoes. You can't move fast when you have a heart that's heavy with guilt. And when we deal with it, we have other language that we use which says, I feel so lighter. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of me. Why? Because we dealt with the guilt. And here's something we often don't anticipate. Unresolved guilt is accumulative. See, if you had a trespass in high school and you didn't deal with the guilt, you took that guilt to college. And if you didn't deal with it in college, you took it into your marriage. And if you didn't deal with it in your marriage, you took it into your career and your leisure time activity. And then your second marriage and your third marriage and your fourth marriage. See, it all joins its little nasty cousins in there. And they all get together like a big guilt amoeba in themselves. Sometimes we can't see it. Aren't you happy you came to church today? Sometimes we can't see it in ourselves, but we can see it in other people, and we have language for that even. We say, she's just got that edge, you know, or she's just got that deal, and it pushes us away. But who are guilty people really angry at? Themselves. We're always angry at ourselves when we're feeling, I let me down. And I let me down. I swore I never would, and I did. I swore I always did, and I never did. I swore that I get this job, I would do it with all my ethics intact, and I realized with just one little lie I could get a promotion, and I did. All of those things allow us to have guilt in our heart and just drag us down even more. Ever notice how impossible it is to love somebody who's filled with guilt? Because they push us away. Because the guilt is there. Well, if I don't respect me, if I don't love me, if I'm disappointed in me because of my behavior, if I have guilt that's driving me, how can I expect you to love me? And so what I do is I push people away from myself. Well, now that I've thoroughly depressed you about this whole issue, I have some good news. And that is, we can get rid of it. We can get rid of it. You don't just have to hide it and try not to let anybody see it. It's not going to work. We all do it, but it doesn't work. It just spurts out other places. So don't even bother with it. I have 2 ways that we can get to this heart issue, because here's the thing. Guilt grows in darkness and it shrinks in the light. Guilt grows in the darkness and it shrinks in the light. So the answer to guilt is get it up and get it out. Now look, the first way, the easiest way, is if you feel guilt over something that you did to somebody that's material, you still have their lawnmower, and you feel guilty about it, and you feel so guilty you don't even want to go over to their house to put the lawnmower back because you think, well, maybe they don't even notice their lawn's this high, but they don't even notice their lawn. Give it back. Just go over there, say you're sorry. That's the easiest. But how do you return a reputation? How do you return your first marriage? How do you return your children's lives that you weren't there for very much between the ages of 12 and 18? How do you do that? Well, there is a way to do it. And that way is to ask people to cancel your debt. Ask people to cancel your debt. See, both ways work. But in bringing the guilt into the light. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says this: there's nothing to heal, only more God to be revealed. Only more light to be shined on every issue. So bring on the light, and that is going to require confession. I know we're in a New Thought church. I'm sorry about that. See, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, they understood this. The founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, they understood this. They cured hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people by understanding this idea. The 12 steps are based on the idea that we excavate that which is inside of us that is dark so that we can bring it to the light, so that we can get to the causes and conditions of our addictions. Now, the whole 12 steps, I can't go into those right now, but the whole 12 steps are designed for this. But I want to talk about steps 5 and 9 because they really hone in on this notion of guilt. Number 5 was admit it to God and to another person, the exact nature of our wrongs, and promptly admitted it. That's a powerful thing. To admit to somebody else the exact nature of our wrongs. See, because they knew that guilt made us thirsty. It made us high. It made us a slave to an addiction. Admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. See, you don't need to be addicted to get this recovery wisdom. This is powerful wisdom. But here's the thing. My belief is, the Catholic Church does a great job with confession. I love the confessions of the Catholic Church. I think it's a powerful thing. I love the story. I heard recently about a young priest who was learning his craft, and he asked an older priest to observe his confessions to make sure he was doing it properly. And so the old priest said okay, and he went and he heard 3 confessions, and he said to the young priest after the 3, well, step out and let's talk for a minute before you take any more. And he did. And he said, now here's my advice to you. He said, I want you to go in there and hold your chin kind of like this. And I want you to say things like, uh-huh, tell me more about that. I understand. And the kid did. He went back in and he did all those things and finished the confessions, and he walked back out. He said, Father, how did I do? And the old priest said, well, here is the thing. Don't you think that was better than slapping your knee and saying, you kidding me? What happened next? But here's the issue with confessions. Here's the issue with confessions in the Catholic model. And that is there's a certain amount of anonymity with it. And remember, some of you remember the great show Ally McBeal, and the character would always do something really gross, and he'd say, bygones. That's kind of how confession feels like to me. It's like, bygones, did it, be back here next week, say it again, bygones. When you say this, when you stand in front of one other human being, and you look them in the eye, and there's no box between you, there's no sting between you, you're just looking at them, and you're saying, this is what I did. That is freeing. That is so freeing. Now look, if we don't have somebody, we don't have a sponsor, we don't have a friend, we don't have somebody we can say that to, practitioners in the house, please stand right now. These are the people you can go and say this to. They will not judge you. They will not advise you. They will not do anything except pray with you and tell you the spiritual truth that you are. Because the trick with telling somebody about your guilt is not to fix it, it's to get it out into the light. And that's really the only reason. It's not to do anything else. Just get it out into the light, and God will take care of the rest. And so the next step that you can do after you do that is to go to step 9, which says we're going to make direct amends. We get it out into the light. We feel lighter because we did that, and we're almost anxious to go and tell another person, to say, I'm sorry, whenever possible, except when to do so would injure somebody else. Now look, don't hide under that. Oh, I better not say I'm sorry. That might make them uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable when you trespassed against them. They weren't uncomfortable because you came and said you were sorry. The reason Bill and Dr. Bob, brilliant though they were, put that in there is so that we wouldn't go and make a bigger mess than we already made in the first place. So if you had an affair with somebody, you don't want to run and tell the person's spouse, oh, they never knew you had the, don't do that, no. I had a friend who had a friend, short-lived friend the second time, who came up and said, you know, I started a recovery and I need to go and I have a list and I'm going to go say sorry to some people and you're one of them. And she said, I always thought you were a snot. And I'm so sorry I thought that. Well, my friend never knew she thought she was a snot, and it hurt her feelings. So those are the kind of things, but don't hide behind it. Don't hide behind that. Because these are really freeing practices that will enable us to get the guilt up and get it out. There is a spiritual solution for your guilt, and it's called light. It's just called light. Let's take this message into prayer. There's only one power. It's the power of that light. And it's called love in my life. I say the same prayer every week. I say it every day. God, just let me allow the light and the love to shine through me. That's all I need to do today, is allow the light and the love to shine through me. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a doormat. Doesn't mean I'm not going to hold standards of excellence for myself and others in this church. But it does mean I just let the love pour through.